DEI just took another major hit. The Ford Motor Company, multi-billion-dollar car manufacturer that are sold all over the world, just said, enough, enough. We're going to focus on building cars and trucks. Good for you, Ford. Will Johnson, the multi-billion-dollar Ford Motor Company in history, the most successful car company in the history of the world, finally woke up from being woke. And they are officially backing away from their DEI initiatives. They're the latest big firm, billion-dollar firm, to say, whoa, maybe we went a little crazy with this woke stuff. John Deere backed away, Lowe's backed away, Tractor Supply backed away. Target's still in it, so's Bud Light. But there's a filmmaker, Robbie Starbuck. This guy ought to get some kind of national award. Probably won't get it from the Biden-Harris White House, but this guy's a filmmaker, and he's taking the credit for his investigation of Ford and reporting on what Ford was doing. President or CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, announced literally a couple days ago that they are backing away from their emphasis on what they were doing when they were unveiling their new Super Duty truck at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. Jim Farley said to the employees, the external and legal environment related to political and social issues continues to evolve. And Ford Motor Company has taken a fresh look at our policies and practices. Basically, what he's saying is, we screwed up. We went nuts. Our stockholders went crazy on us. And like Lowe's that dropped all their DEI policies, now Ford is saying they've made a decision. They're no longer going to participate in what's called the Human Rights Campaign of Corporate Equality Index. And for those out there that don't know what the hell that means, it is the annual survey used to gauge, quote, policies, practices, and benefits that pertain to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer employees. So Ford finally figured out, we don't have that many people that are a little bit wacky here. We want to build cars and trucks, and we want to sell a lot of cars and trucks. And people that we want to sell cars and trucks to don't want to hear about this. They want to know how good the truck is.
You know what, Barry? You just solved the problem. I was wondering why that nut wouldn't fit that boat. Now we know why. We know why. We know why we say never buy a Ford.
They were focused on the human rights campaign. You know, they call it human rights, but it's really the crazy train. You know, hey, I want to work at the big Ford plant that builds F-150s, and I'm going to come dressed as a squirrel.
I mean, you know, our grown man putting on a dress, working on an assembly line. It doesn't make sense. And, you know, as I've always said, or here lately, that something is wrong with our society. This way of life, this lifestyle that they're pushing onto our society has nothing to do with making a vehicle. No one cares what you do when you go home. It's really no one business what you do when you go home. But they have this whole agenda that they're pushing onto all of these businesses because they know if they can push it onto the business, they can push it onto the employee. And then the employee be like, okay, well, this is just part of our society. This is part of our life. We have to engage in this. We'll go ahead and make a truck and put a unicorn symbol on the front of it. You know, to put the unicorn horn on the front of it. So we'll replace the Ford symbol and put a unicorn. I mean, might as well go ahead and do that too, right? Because this is what we're leading to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen to the list. Starbucks has announced this on X. Quote, so far you've helped me change corporate policy at Tractor Supply. They're the largest seller of animal feed in the United States.
Right.
I mean, they're huge. John Deere, largest tractor maker in the world. Harley Davidson, motorcycles. Polaris, they make motorcycles, boats, jet skis. Indian Motorcycles, Lowe's, and now Ford. I mean, he's targeting company after company saying, your employees don't want it. Your customers don't want it. Stop it, or you're going to lose business. And so these companies are getting condemned by the Human Rights Council as if these are human rights. I think it's mental illness.
I guess technically if we look at it, I guess it would be a human right, because if a grown man decides to one day at the age of 55, 60 and put on a skirt and lipstick, I mean, he has every right to do it, right? Will Johnson's not going to go to his door and tell him to take, I'm not going to take anything off. I'm not going to talk to him, right? And let me watch what I'm
Stop it.
saying there.
Not listening.
I'm not.
listening.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to do that. So they technically they have a human right to do it, but it's not. It doesn't fall into the category of a civil right, because there's completely difference when it comes to civil rights. The problem here is that they're pushing it onto children. They're pushing it onto adults. They're pushing it as if the majority of the country, let alone the world, they say that they're trying to convince everyone that this lifestyle is acceptable to everybody. And it's not acceptable. Now, we have to accept the fact that they're doing this, right? We have to accept the fact that they're living that lifestyle, but this is not an acceptable behavior because it destroys lives. We have history to prove that. Look at Rome. Look, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, it is proven that this type of behavior destroys societies. And the very fact that they're pushing all these companies to do this is because it's a global agenda. It is a straight up global agenda.
Well said, Will.